Good morning and welcome to the McDonough School of Business at Georgetown University and this National Summit on Rural Entrepreneurship. This is going to be an exciting day of hard work and good ideas for all of us. I'm Bill Novelli, and along with LaDon Mantegi, I lead the Global Social Enterprise Initiative here in the Business School. And I would like to acknowledge Maria Contreras-Sweet, the administrator of the Small Business Administration, who is going to be with us shortly. Now, last January, the American Farm Bureau Federation and our Georgetown Global Social Enterprise Initiative launched a multi-year partnership with the ambitious goal of helping to strengthen rural America. Now, of course, that's a natural goal for the Farm Bureau Federation and an important part of its mission. But it's also a natural goal for us here at the Business School because, as our Dean, David Thomas, is fond of saying, we are in service to business and society. Our Global Social Enterprise Initiative works with current and future leaders to create economic value while making a positive social impact as well. And we do this by leveraging Georgetown's assets to build partnerships with companies, nonprofits, and government to tackle challenges in health and well-being, international development, clean tech, energy and the environment, impact investing, and a topic that is central to this summit, economic security. Entrepreneurship is a force that can help bolster the economies of rural communities throughout the U.S. and ultimately grow our nation's economy. Georgetown's Entrepreneurship Initiative, also known as Startup Hoyas, led by our colleague Jeff Reed, Jeff, raise your hand, has joined us in launching the Rural Entrepreneurship Initiative. Startup Hoyas inspires students and others to be entrepreneurial, helps them accelerate their ideas, connects them to useful resources, and encourages them to be successful. Together, the American Farm Bureau Federation, Startup Hoyas, and the Global Social Enterprise Initiative have begun this program with a webinar series, a website and resource center on strongruralamerica.com, and launched the Rural Entrepreneurship Challenge, the first ever national business competition focused exclusively on rural entrepreneurs. In your programs, you'll see more information about the webinars in which we invite you to participate. Now, as you look around this morning, you may realize that you haven't met many of the people in this room. That is intentional. We're an eclectic group, and each of you has been asked to participate because of your expertise, your entrepreneurship, and or your ability to support new businesses and innovative ideas. Great ideas and businesses aren't just born in Silicon Valley or MIT or other coastal corridors. Just as often, they come from the heartland of the country. So we're all here today to be a part of the community that will work with the Farm Bureau and Georgetown to help strengthen rural America through entrepreneurship. We're very pleased to be working with the Farm Bureau, and now I'd like to introduce our good partner, Bob Stallman, President of the American Farm Bureau Federation. Bob has been in his leadership position for nearly 15 years, giving voice to America's farmers and ranchers in domestic and international policy discussions and decisions. Last month, he led a trade delegation to Europe to help promote trade and keep markets open to American agriculture. Please welcome Bob Stallman.
Well, thank you, Bill. We appreciate the partnership that we have with the McDonough School of Business and look forward to working together to strengthen our rural communities. And thank you all for being here at the first National Summit on Rural Entrepreneurship. It's going to be an interesting, informative, and I think maybe even fun day today. The theme of today's summit is a walk in their shoes. Now, that sums up the challenge today to think about the unique hurdles that rural entrepreneurs must tackle to start their businesses. It's different out in the rural world than it is in the urban areas. We're proud to host this summit in partnership with Georgetown University's Global Social Enterprise Initiative and the White House Rural Council, including the Small Business Administration and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. If it takes a village to raise a child, then maybe it takes an exceptional public-private partnership like this to develop solutions that strengthen the village. Rural development is important to Farm Bureau because farmers and their communities need each other. Farm families need local customers, good schools for the children, off-farm jobs for their spouses or other family members, good health care, and of course some entertainment and cultural attractions. Rural communities need the economic activity that is generated by agriculture. They need young people to carry on that next generation of farming and ranching. Farmers and ranchers are rural Americans, but there are other things too. They're teachers, they're parents, they're young adults who are deciding whether to move out of the country into the city or not. And that's why building strong and prosperous rural communities is a key part of Farm Bureau's mission. Farm Bureau has been working to strengthen rural communities with a focus on bridging the rural-urban broadband divide, working for equitable funding for rural schools, strengthening access to health care, and other efforts to grow the cultural and economic resources that bring people back to rural America to live, work, and to raise their families. But strengthening rural America really begins with growing entrepreneurship, business by business. It begins by helping rural entrepreneurs overcome all of the challenges to getting started. It doesn't do much good to put funds into a community to build a new community center or new wastewater treatment plant if the community is losing population due to a lack of economic and social opportunities. So Farm Bureau was pleased to begin these discussions over a year ago with Bill Novelli, as he's already referenced. And today is the outcome, part of the outcome of those talks. And thank you, Bill, once again for partnering with Farm Bureau on this initiative and for hosting today's summit here in Georgetown. And I want to acknowledge the leadership of American Farm Bureau's Executive Vice President Juliana Potts, who, in discussions with Bill, kicked off this idea and got it put together and on the ground. And so, as Bill is fond of saying, this is an example of doing good while doing well. And I certainly thank them both for their vision and leadership. The partnership with Georgetown is significant for us. We wouldn't be gathering here on this beautiful campus without it, for starters, but also because we admire the work that Georgetown is doing to help businesses solve social challenges while educating future business leaders. Together with Georgetown, we have developed the Rural Entrepreneurship Initiative, a program that will help rural entrepreneurs turn their great business ideas into reality. And then we were really excited when the White House Rural Council joined us as sponsors of the initiative in today's summit, bringing in the expertise of the federal agencies that are working to create more economic activity in rural America. That is key to our success. So thank you to all members of the council who are here today. Bill discussed what the Rural Entrepreneurship Initiative is all about. It's the series of webinars, online resources for entrepreneurs to use, today's summit, and then the Rural Entrepreneurship Challenge. That's the first national business competition for rural entrepreneurs. And at the end of today's summit, we will announce the 10 semifinalists that will compete for the title of Best New Business Idea and also some significant investment dollars. But before we get to that, we'll spend time today sharing some information about the needs of rural entrepreneurs, such as access to investors and mentors. We'll hear from experts in business innovation and hear about real examples of entrepreneurs who have taken their businesses from idea to a success story. I would note that those in the room aren't the usual suspects that gather when we talk about rural development. They're business leaders, policy influencers who believe in the importance of rural communities. So thank you to all of our speakers, panelists, moderators, and participants. And just to note, we are honored that Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack will be joining us at lunch. We certainly appreciate his leadership of agriculture and his passion for rebuilding rural communities. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our opening keynote speaker. SBA Administrator Maria Contreras-Sweet joined President Obama's cabinet this April when she was sworn in as the 24th leader of the U.S. Small Business Administration. SBA is charged with supporting America's small businesses, which create nearly 2 out of 3 new jobs, 2 out of 3 of every new jobs in our economy, and when they actually employ half of the private sector workforce. This makes the SBA one of the most important forces for job creation and economic growth that we have in America. The SBA guarantees financing and working capital to small business owners who are unable to obtain a traditional bank loan. And for our aspiring rural entrepreneurs that are out there and that are here today, the SBA provides a range of financing products that can help their new businesses startup, and grow. Administrator Contreras-Sweet is uniquely qualified to lead the SBA. Before she joined the President's Cabinet, the administrator started 3 businesses in Los Angeles, including California's first Hispanic-owned business bank in 2 generations. So she has a unique understanding of the challenges that small business owners face every day. And this is not her only public leadership position. In California, she was the first Latina to ever hold a cabinet post, serving as the state secretary for transportation, housing, and business. She was a co-founder of the California Endowment, a multi-billion-dollar philanthropic foundation, and she was appointed to the Federal Glass Ceiling Commission by the United States Senate to create more opportunities for women to ascend to executive positions in corporate America. So we are very honored to have her with us this morning, and now it is my pleasure to introduce our dynamic leader of the SBA, Administrator Maria Contreras-Sweet. Madam Administrator.
Dynamic, okay, I'll take it. Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate that very generous introduction and the gracious invitation to be with all of you here today. You are so kind to come out on a Tuesday morning after a long holiday. So indeed, it means that you're really committed to the work that we have ahead of us. I want to thank you all, and I wanted just to do a little special shout out for the people from SBA who are here today, Meredith, and I saw Javier Sade, who runs our SBIC program. Anyway, thank you all for being here. We're also delighted to be able to be here with Dean Thomas, who represents so aptly the McDonald School of Business, and so congratulations to you for all you're doing. And this morning I had a lovely conversation with LaDon and Bill, and so thank you for your generosity in briefing me on what's going on here today. And I'm particularly delighted that you have all chosen to ask my cabinet colleague, Bill Vilsack, to come out. He and I are working very closely to make sure that our SBA centers throughout the country are getting the word out about his products as well. And so we're exploring ways in which we can connect. And indeed, I agree with what was just said, that I'm delighted that the White House is providing such enormous leadership in this space through Doug McKillop and Doug Rand. So our 2 Dougs are well on their way on doing important work. But I'm so pleased to see the American Farm Bureau Federation do this important work. Back in California, I have to tell you, there were a few things that were more important to us, but our diversity of commerce. And of course, we are known for Hollywood and all that we do, but we are also equally proud of what we do around the farming, the agricultural contributions that we make to the world, and how we're exploring ways in which to continue to be key feeders of the world. So I really have a great sense of appreciation for what's taking place here. I thought that I would just simply do 3 quick things. One is to walk you through what we do at the SBA, and then second, to tell you what I'm doing now that I'm at the SBA, and 3, just challenge us to think more deeply about the opportunities that are ahead of us. I know that you may have recently heard that we distributed a report recently out of the White House around the millennial community. And there were a couple of figures that sort of stuck out in my mind. And one of them was that more millennials are completing their college degree than any generation in American history. I think that bodes well for us. Another one is that the millennial generation is more creative than any other generation that we have seen. And the third is, and it's one of my favorites here, is that as many as 50% of millennials say that they want to start their own business. That's really important to us at the SBA. If anybody's looking for a job, the beauty of America is that you can create your own. You can hire yourself. And as much as we take that for granted, when I meet with other of my cabinet colleagues and they tell me that whenever they go abroad, they're delivering the SBA speech, to know that here in this country, you can have access to capital in unbridled ways that we don't see in other places in the world is something that we shouldn't take for granted. Indeed, I want to tell you that what we find is that this construct that we have at the SBA is really quite special. We call it 3 C's and a D. I'm in school, and here we are on a campus, and people talk about the ABCs. So I'll share with you what the R's, and R's are called 3 C's and a D. We start with consulting. Whenever you're contemplating entrepreneurship, the first thing that you want to know is, do I have a strong pro forma? Is my cash flow makes sense? Does my marketing plan, is my market niche appropriate? All of the questions that you have about the different stages of business formation and all of the key elements of success. We have counseling centers throughout. Some of you may find those counseling centers in the name of the small business development centers. Some of you may find them in the name of veterans business outreach centers, women business centers, or our very own district offices that we have throughout the country. If you walk into any one of these, they can help you with the basics of what we call counseling, consultative advice, anything that you, whatever nomenclature you want to assign to it. But the point is that we help get your business going. After you have a solid business plan, the next thing that you might contemplate is, now how do I give fuel to this business plan? How do I get capital? The second C, capital. I'm delighted to tell you that at every intersection of your business entrepreneurial journey, SBA has a solution for you. So if you are looking for, at the very onset, a microloan, SBA gives out loans to other micro lenders so that they can put loans out in the community. We have what I call the largest angel fund in the country, except that we don't take an equity position. They're called SBIR grants. These small business innovation and research grants are where we help somebody develop some kind of new innovation. And they come from health, they come from ag, they come from transportation, Department of Defense. And so we pull all these together. A percentage of the federal spend goes to small business research. So we call that angel financing, but indeed they're research grants. One of the few grants you can get in government for this purpose. So I'd encourage you to look into SBIR. Then further on the journey of capital, you may say, now I need a conventional loan, but I'm on the margins and I don't actually qualify for a conventional loan. This is where the SBA stands in with the government debenture, with the guarantee. So we can help those people who have been marginalized, who have not been able to get a loan. We come in with a loan, and so, you know, some people have a rich uncle that can stand in for them. You have Uncle Sam standing in for you. And so we're delighted that we have that program. And then on, as you go into that capital journey, you may say, well, now I'm ready for some private equity, mezzanine, a surety bond, any of those. We have those answers too through our SBIC program. So again, through any part of your journey of entrepreneurship to secure capital, we have a solution. Finally, the third C, you say, now I've got my plan in place, I have my capital in place, now I need work, I need contracting. And so in that instance, we've launched a program for both the government contracting. The federal government is the largest procurer in the world. And the SBA directs 23% of that spend to small businesses. And so we're pleased to say that if you're interested in working with the federal government, we want to make that introduction through our matchmaking events. If you're interested in the private sector, we're also reaching out to the private sector. Recently, the President and I held a session in the White House to invite and to challenge the companies to join us in providing more supply chain opportunities for the small business community, to provide more nimbleness for them. And company after company after company is signing on to be a part of the solution. And then, of course, international commerce. Those present huge opportunities. And then at the end, you and we hope that you don't run into this we have a D. And our D is not so good either. And that is that should you find yourself in a sudden natural disaster, in that case, then we have disaster assistance relief for you, where we make direct loans for your home or against your business to help you get back on your feet. So that is what we call the SBA, the 3 C's and a D. Now you might say, okay, well, now you've been in cabinet for a few months. What have you done, and how are you any different than any other one? Well, I can tell you that we've built on a history of very, very impressive administrators. But what I just did is I reframed the SBA, and now have the SBA stand for smart, bold, and accessible. Because I think that we have to think about people like you who are in this room and are listening to us through other channels. And that is that the SBA must use smart systems for ourselves to make sure that we're more efficient in reaching you, as well as making sure that we're helping you navigate through the smart systems that can now be deployed. And so some of you, most of you have a smartphone, most of you have a smart home, and we want your SBA to also be smart. And so in that regard, the programs that we've put in place are allowing us to be more efficient than ever before. I was just hearing a story this morning about how arduous the process was to get through an SBA loan product. And I'm pleased to tell you that when we launched the technology that you see at Macy's or at Target or in any other store where you enter a few data points, your name and maybe your social and maybe something else, and within a few minutes they give you a credit card. You're approved for credit. So I had to ask, why can't we use this technology at the SBA to make our loans more accessible, easier to capture? And so indeed, in July, we were able to launch this new technology. It's a predictive scoring algorithm. We call it a liquid FICO. And so today, the SBA forms for loans under $150,000 have been dramatically facilitated, and even better than just dramatically facilitated in paper, now more streamlined. The important thing is that we've effectively allowed more people through the system, so that for those who didn't qualify historically for SBA loans, now more of you will qualify under this new system. So I hope that you will go back into your bank and say that you just heard from the administrator, if you were turned down previously, that we expect more will qualify under this new program. The second is, we're going to call it SBA 1. We need some students who will give us a snazzier name maybe, but for now we're going to call it SBA 1, and that is our second initiative that we've launched under our smart systems, and that is that we're going to blow up the fax machines, blow up the paperwork entirely, effective Q2 of next year. And what we want to do is say, from now on, why don't we do lending the way others do lending in other industries? And so we want to make sure that we're facilitating our loan products through electronic systems. And again, it will allow more people to get through the system because we think we can be better at predicting outcomes. So those are initiatives that we've launched around SMART. We're also making our loans just more available. We've zeroed out fees for loans under $150,000, so that if you are interested, again, in a loan under the $150,000, where we think our innovators are, then we hope that you'll look those up. The B, bold. What we wanted to do is double down. We know and you know that today as we stand here, we know that 95% of the world's consumers are outside of the United States. And yet the small business community of all of us, only 1% is partaking of international trade opportunities. So we think this is an unfettered opportunity that remains available for all of you. And still more to the point, in the next 10 years, an additional 1 billion consumers will join the middle class. So we think it's a marvelous opportunity for young entrepreneurs who are thinking about joining entrepreneurship and using technology. With technological advances, we think that these are now all within our reach. As soon as you light up your website, you're already engaging in international commerce. I remember when I first launched, it was my second business, and I just put out a bid to ask somebody to do my logo. I received a response from India and from South Africa. So it's really quite remarkable what you can do today. And these are the things that we want to help you spur. We want to make sure that we're providing you all of those kinds of solutions. The A is about accessibility. We want to make sure that not just urban centers, but that rural communities can access our programs. And so to that extent, we've launched a whole new office that I just announced last week. And that office is solely dedicated to putting in technological advances to make sure that people can reach our programs in all ways. 24-hour and in the medium that you need it. And so I think that you're going to be seeing some nice refinements around that. We're really pleased about what's taking place. And this is very, very personal work to me. I want to share with you that I came from outside of this country. I came from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. I came here at the age of 5. My grandparents were migrant workers, and they toiled and worked hard. But they always said, do you know, you're going to America, and someday, if you work really, really hard, we know that if you bring others along, good things will come to you. And so I wrote to my grandmother when I joined first grade and said, guess what? I became the milk monitor. And she said, you know, remember, it's not the titles that you have. It's what you do with the titles that you have. And that's the lesson I want to share with the young people who are here, that yes, we want to be innovators, and yes, we want to be successful, but with technology and with impact investing, with the value system that's about performance with purpose, we can really change the world. We can do well by our families and for our families, but we should also be able to do well for our communities and our country. And that's what's important. That's the lesson here. Social impact investing, to make sure that we as SBA, our mission is very clear. Our mission is that we're not here to compete with the private capital markets. They should work. We're here to fill the gaps. The gaps is not here to compete. We're here to fill the gaps. Where are those gaps? In underserved communities, yes, some in urban centers, people who are African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Native American, women. We have a 5% goal for contracting with women. And do you know that the SBA has not reached that goal yet? We need women to join the entrepreneurship effort, because we will commit to helping you through matchmaking opportunities and to get through the system. It's a goal I'm determined to make. We also know that people of all diverse backgrounds are not getting access to capital. And so we think that these predictive scoring systems take out some of the subjectivity to make sure that everybody can enjoy and prosper from entrepreneurship. So I'm looking forward to these things. And I can tell you that my grandmother used to say, just keep it going, remember, keep going, every time I wrote her. And then finally, when the governor called me and asked me to be his Secretary of Business, Transportation, and Housing, I wrote her again. This was in California. And I wrote her again, and she said, I always knew that if you worked hard, that someday you'd work in an office and be a secretary. But anyway, so yes, indeed, I became Secretary of Housing and Transportation and of the state systems. And that's what's the beauty of this country, that we have unbridled social mobility. And that's what we're asking you as entrepreneurs to promote and to advance and to continue about this country. We have social mobility that you don't see in other countries. You're seeing despotism and tyranny and savagery because people feel that they're stuck in a place. And so we are challenging you to join entrepreneurship, to expand the middle class, and to continue to harvest the opportunity with such bounty that only America does, so that stories like mine could be replicated over and over and over again. And so I challenge you, on this 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King's quote, you remember that right after the passage of the Civil Rights, he said, what good is it to be able to sit at an integrated counter if you can't afford to buy the hamburger? And that is what entrepreneurship is about. It's about advancing civil rights, of course, but making certain that we're advancing our market rights along this process. And so I challenge all of us to come together to advance the market rights, to advance the free enterprise system of this country, and to take the farming concept and apply technology so that we can feed the world and help others raise their economy, others advance their middle class. So it's not just about us, it's about our role in the world and how we must preserve the majesty of America. And so again, I say to you, that yes, just as John F. Kennedy told us, remember when he said, in America, we don't all have equal talent, but in America, we should all be given an equal opportunity to develop our talent. Let us begin today to make sure that we're advancing in all fronts, including bringing forward our rural America. I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you so that we can have these smart, bold, and accessible moves to make sure that our country is doing what it ought to be doing for our young people. God bless you and God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much.